Is that about the worst you've ever seen? Hey everybody, welcome back to Full Blast Garage. On this episode, maybe a few of you guys can relate to me because I put this car up for sale and I think it's just telling me it doesn't want to go anywhere. But now we're gonna fight on past it and put this thing on full blast. Make sure you do it on full blast. So recently, put the Jimmy up for sale. It's on one of the videos before this. If you want to go back and if the thing hadn't sold yet, go ahead and enter your guesses because closest without going over is going to get some free merch whenever we get it. So keep that in mind also. Don't expect it soon. Put it up for sale, found a decent trade. You know, I'm open to trades. And this was gonna be a 151 way trip. Well, turns out I didn't like the trade, so it was 150 miles back. So 300 miles, if you're adding with me. And that's about 280 miles longer, you know, one-way trip than I've ever been in this car. And I noticed on the way back, you know, turning in the gas station, I had some squeaking coming from the front, almost like one of the hubs was engaged, you know, and like trying to lock the wheel. And then I started noticing when I take turns left or right, it's like it just drove weird for 10 seconds and then it was fine. It would just go. And so, you know, like any good mechanic, I just completely ignored it until I got home. You know, put a jack under it. I could tell it's coming from passenger front. Put a jack under it, and guess what, man? This thing, the ball joint, lower ball joint, smoked totally. So we need to dive on in, you know, full drive ball joint. It's fun. You got to take everything apart, but hey, I'm not going to sell a car that's like this. And I honestly wouldn't have drove it if I'd known it was even anywhere near that condition, but you know, driving it's never exerted any of those symptoms till that trip home. I think maybe cutting it real tight in some of those gas station parking lots might have, you know, put it over the edge of where it was. But let's go through the process of putting some new ball joints on one of these old square bodies that's 4x4. So it'll be different from your two-wheel drive boys, but 4x4, square body, new ball joints. Let's get started. I'll at least show you guys what the symptoms are here. So when you jack your car up and the wheel looks like this, don't drive it anymore. Don't. Okay, so you guys are gonna wanna zoom in on that lower ball joint. About to do a little pull. Is that about the worst you've ever seen? I mean, I've seen broken ones, but that's pretty bad. So let's go ahead, start pulling the wheel, and we'll get to replace it on it. All right, 3/4 inch socket. Should make quick work of this. We're gonna need some Allen wrenches. I think I actually got an Allen socket for the caliper. But we'll need to take the caliper off, the lock and hub off, and pretty much everything. We're taking it down to the studs essentially. There ain't gonna be nothing left. Still got some wheel weights, that's good. Ain't slung those off yet. The tire doesn't have any giant bubbles. We gotta take our W's where we can. Not supposed to move like that. Definitely the bottom one. Top one we could probably get away with leaving. It's one of those, since you're in there, you should go ahead and do it. But we gotta take off our tie rod, gotta take off our caliper, get the brake loose, upper and lower ball joint, and then take apart the inside of the hub here. All the studs on this thing look pretty good. I think whoever had it before me must have taken care of them. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get my tools for the caliper. And I don't know, I'm gonna have to get, hopefully just a hammer to separate these. This stuff's pretty fresh. The ball joints, I don't know. Probably gonna have to use a pickle fork or something, but heating these, at least the ones we're gonna get rid of, it's probably your best bet. Just get them hot, they'll expand a little bit, make it a little bit easier to drop out. And go grab some more tools. All right, let's see if we can break these guys loose. A lot of times, not super tight, but I don't really like to smoke these guys on. Some people do. Oh, not bad. Probably use a little grease in there, squeaking as I'm unthreading it. So definitely want to grease those guys. That's what your calipers kind of slide back and forth on. I'm going to kind of place this thing on top of the leaf springs over here once I got it out, the caliper, just so it's not hanging by the hose. You don't want to do that. No extra pressure on these at all. You don't want to be changing brake hose on top of your ball joint job. For the most part, the brakes on this thing are excellent. I mean, I think it's got to do with that new brake booster and master cylinder, but this thing, it'll put you through the windshield if you stomp on it. Sometimes these guys need a little persuasion, but this time, not bad. Brake shoe or brake pads, relatively new on these. I believe I replaced these. If it wasn't me, then it was a previous owner, but almost positive I put new pads on this. Rotor looks fine, not a gigantic lip. But now we got to start pulling off the nose of this guy. So let's flip the camera around, get a better view. All right, so if you're lucky enough to have locking hubs like I am, you're gonna need to bust out your Allens. I think this is a 764. So you're gonna have 6 of these little screws that you gotta pull off. Be careful sometimes pulling these things off. Could be a little spring or clip or something that's came loose or anything behind there. You don't want to lose this stuff because most of these companies don't make a lot of replacement parts anymore, and you're just going to have to buy a new locking hub, which if stuff's broken and loose inside there, probably not a bad idea. But if this thing's just like a run on around the ranch rig or something like that, you really need 4-wheel drive, you don't want to spend any money at all on it, just be careful. Be careful pulling stuff off. So I'll go ahead and finish unthreading these guys here and kind of show you what it looks like when you're pulling it off. Okay, so you got all your bolts loose. Should be able to just pull on this guy and it'll release. Be careful, because you'll have an O-ring and you're going to want to save that. Again, some of these companies, they don't sell the O-ring individually anymore, so you gotta either go and try and figure out what your O-ring is or buy a new hub. And this is what we got inside here, this little spring clip looking thingy. And this is what I'm talking about, stuff could be falling out as you're removing it. So just make sure everything kind of stays in and nothing's loose. So the first thing, it's been a while, been a minute. So taking one of these out, there should be a clip right here. See if I can get a little bit better view for you guys. First thing, there's this clip that fits into a groove here. Let's see if I can get that thing started coming out. Might have the wrong tool. Flathead maybe? Let's try something with a different size hook. There we go. Up and over. And it's a good idea to place this stuff in a pile in the order it comes out. So have your hub on one side, that ring, stack it right after. All right, so you're gonna wanna grab a couple screws out of your hub mount, thread them in so you can catch on this guy. I was trying to grab in there and pull, but fingers aren't strong enough. Go ahead and pull out. And we'll just place that right in line, how it came out. And now we can see there is a lock ring in there. I believe this is the tool. I could be wrong on this. This could be a Ford one, but it looks like the right spacing. Yep. And this thing should not be just incredibly tight. I should be able to get it off. Oh. There's a chance someone was trying to compensate for the lower ball joint being out. You could over torque it, but a lot of guys use a screwdriver or chisel. Not the best option. If you got access, get the tool and you won't mar up this thing. There you go. Everything's gonna need to be cleaned up. Everything for sure. We should be getting close in here. All right, after that nut, you'll have a thrust washer that has a keyway. So you there's only one way to put it back in right. And I think we should have one more nut. And that's what kind of slams everything together in here. Should be hand tight. We'll see. Oh yeah, that was really loose. At this point, we're good with it because we're trying to get everything apart. So we're okay with it. I think I can get this by hand now. Just kind of working it around with my finger here. All right. Set that guy down. Again, everything's gonna need to be cleaned. I feel like this stuff should be pretty free now. Am I missing something? Is there another retainer? Can kind of wiggle the old wheel bearing out here. I'm trying to slide it out. What kind of shape do we think this guy's in after riding all wonky with that lower ball joint? Kind of making it was making this wheel ride funny. This thing could be absolutely smoked, or at least worn at an angle. All right, do I need to hook it? There we go. Couple spots. So, man, well, maybe a little worn. Not really that bad. Not as bad as I was expecting. No crunchiness or anything. Honestly, I'd say this is not bad. You could probably put this back in and run it and you'd be fine. I did get new ones. Let's see. Do we have anything else in here that would be hanging it up? I don't see it. Whole lot of grease. I guess that's better than none at all. Yeah, I think I maybe just got to get more violent with it. There shouldn't be anything else holding this thing on. Slightly confused. Should I give her a tap from the back here? Maybe I was in no danger of the wheel falling off because it's impossible to come off. Where is this thing hung? I'm confused. I mean, is like the wheel bearing seized? Get a pry bar. Just put this down in the book of things you shouldn't have to do to get your rotor off. I definitely not ever had this rotor off in the time that I've owned this car. Oh, finally. I can't believe it. The race isn't completely smoked, but it actually looks okay in there. And we finally do have some red grease, which is the correct color. Oh, the wheel seal and the bearing did not come with the hub. I don't know what this is. It's just hanging out here. This bearing is frozen on. All right, we'll see what we got to do about this. And all else fails, just apply a bunch of heat. Well, we got half the inner wheel bearing off. Let's see if we can make her glow and get the rest of it off. Anything. You can definitely tell where people have pried previously because the brake backing plate's all bent up. So I'm guessing there's been issues in the past. Really don't want to take out the cutoff wheel. Be nice to have to avoid that. Getting a little bit of space. Just beating the screwdriver in there. Normally these things, if you can get them started, then you can wiggle them off. The bottom part's the hardest. Not a lot of room to get in there with the hammer and the long screwdriver. We've moved it a hair. Really trying to avoid having to get any kind of grinder or cutoff tool. That would be nice. We've got 1/8 of an inch maybe now. It's moving. It's moving gradually now. This is how these easy jobs just snowball really quick. I know one of these I took off because the 4x4 little lock hub mount thing was leaking. Didn't have any issues. I went through the whole thing while I had it out, greased everything, went through it, and the other side, it was not froze on here like this. And it's finally giving up some. Can see it moving. Man. Hope I ain't got to heat up the new one to put it on, like this axle or something's way larger than it should be. Man, we are almost there. Yeah, even the big chisel. I wonder if I hit it. Kind of vibrated off a little bit. It definitely did move. Wow. Yeah, there's all my long pry tools are probably a little bit too long to get in here. Whew. This has been a workout. And we hadn't even started. She's coming. Slowly but surely. Well, this brake thing wasn't bent before. It totally is now. Totally just saw this thing slide for a second. And I'm not seeing things, I promise. Whew. A little more heat. All right, please come off. Probably gonna shoot off while it's hot. Right on me. We're getting so close. I'm just bending the backing plate. I mean, we moved it quite a bit. Still got a little ways to go. And there's no real good way to pull on this thing. Just gonna have to keep kind of chiseling away on it. Show you guys when I get it off. Got a feeling this might be the last heat cycle she needs. And this would be the third time that I've put the heat to it. And it's just barely hanging on by the ledge. I've gotten it moved. I mean, I can stick a finger in there. Not right now though, it's incredibly hot. Don't do that. All right, my technique has been, I can get this in kind of between the hub and the piece of that bearing. It came off right into my crotch. I knew it. I knew this thing was gonna shoot straight at me. Let's see, I landed right there. She's smoking, but it didn't catch the paper towel on fire, but I think that might have got too hot, like before that I put the map gas to it. I think we might have had an issue there even before then. I think the the lower ball joint failing might have affected that a little bit. But let's go ahead and push that to the side. So we got work to do. So here inside our bent up hub, we got all these screws that hold this backing plate on. I go grab my socket, we can break those loose. So we got to completely pull the axle out of the front of this thing to do this. So this has got to come off. All right, got our 1/2 inch socket there. Let's grab the impact, get these guys off. And just remember, if you're using heat, everything's got a little bit of residual probably still built in. So just watch out what you grab. Might have to beat that over a little bit. Got a little too happy right there with the pry bar. Oh yeah, she's round again. We'll be fine. You got to kind of remember your orientation here too. All right. So you got to remember she was like that. Mine's pretty easy because the most dented one goes right there. Whew, the axle's still hot. Real hot. You can grab a couple towels. All right. Check out your bearings in here. Make sure everything looks good. You can set that aside, and she's warm. She's real warm. Whew. Now we should be able to pull out our axle shaft, and we're lucky our U-joint feels great. So a lot of times guys have steering issues. They think it's something in the steering on these trucks, and it's actually a froze up U-joint in the front. Ours is in great shape. So we're getting close to getting her torn down to the studs, but we got this nut, lower ball joint nut, which might fight us because the thing's probably in pieces. And then we got our steering right here that we got to take loose. So let me go ahead and find all the sockets and wrenches and everything else I'm going to need for those, and we'll pick up from there. Well, can't find all of my ball joint press. I got a seal installer kit and part of a ball joint press, so let's give it a shot. What could happen? Just gonna heat her up just to expand the metal. A lot of times you can heat them up enough where you can just beat them out with a hammer. Since I have this thing, I'm just gonna give it a shot. We'll see if she wants to cooperate at all. It's pushing. Just going easy, 'cause really don't want to put this thing in a bind. This isn't exactly what this tool's meant to do. So got that guy pressed out. As you can see, this tool, even though it's meant for really driving seals, you got a hole in the middle that the ball joint will kind of feed up through. But this is a seal driving tool. This is not ball joint press or anything like that, but that's the bad one. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on this side to the top. It's the same story. Push it out the exact same way. I wonder, I don't know, I'm gonna have to get a weird angle on this tool to kind of feed it in here. I don't know. Since this thing's really not designed for this, might have enough thread on it, but yeah, it's the same story. Just go ahead and do that. Might have to get like a, oh, no, she should be fine. Oh yeah, this will work perfect. And this one will be even easier because the ball joint's not all floppy. Because I was having a hard time lining up the ball joint in there. This thing was so floppy. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this sucker some heat, push her out, and we'll be on to the installation process. All right, so add a little heat to your knuckle here, get your tool set up right, get your right back up. Just go ahead, send her home. She's I think that is seated. This one, did it come with a snap ring? Yes, so she's gonna have to come a little bit further if we're gonna get a snap ring on it. Just kind of backing it off and checking it again. Not a bad thing to do. You want to make sure your backup is not in a place that could bind. I think that was the sound of she's came far enough. And that is how you pull your ball joint through there. We'll go ahead and put our locking clip on. And this guy is just right there. It might actually needs a hair more. The sound kind of changed on it, and that's kind of always what I base everything on, and I think it's gonna need just a hair more. I could see a little bit of daylight. Definitely want to make sure you get these guys tight. I don't want to smoke it because you already got your ball joint on there. You don't want to hurt that seal. All right, now we have a ledge. Let's put our snap ring on. Golden. So we'll go ahead, put our snap ring on. Oh, I'll run our nut on this thing so I don't lose it or mess up the threads. And also you need to run your grease boot on. It's already greased in there, it's full, but you want to have that on there, and there isn't anywhere for like a cotter pin, which I guess if you're running the C-clip, maybe you don't need one, but the other one had one. So a little strange, but do the same setup on the bottom and we'll be good. All right, show you guys the last little bit of the good Gulf here. He's getting there. I think we're there. All right. Yep, these ball joints are in much better condition. Our ledge here for our clip, perfectly aligned. Just go ahead and put our C-clip on, our grease fitting. Got to put our boot back on. Of course, this guy's already doesn't look too great. Good old China. But oh well, we'll make it work. She's just got to get sold, and this thing will probably last, I don't know, that could have been the original ball joint from 78, 40-something years. Honestly, as much as this thing gets driven, it'll probably last another 40 years, and this bag is gonna defeat me. Let's go ahead and rip it. If you don't have any C-clip pliers, you ought to get some before this job. And I do not have the kind, I don't think, I didn't look super hard. I know I have had a pair, the kind where you squeeze and they open. These you actually, I'm gonna have to spread it open to get it around here. So that's super convenient. Don't do a whole lot of C-clipping, not gonna lie. Try to stay away from transmissions and rebuilding like all the steering boxes and everything else that takes a bunch of C-clips. Try and stay away from that stuff. Oh man, these pair of pliers have seen better days. All right, so we got her a majority of the way on. We're just gonna tap it on down with the hammer. She's locked in. Grab our grease fitting. Go ahead, thread that guy on there. And again, these are greased. They're full. So no need to go ahead and throw more grease in there. They come preloaded. What are the chances this grease fitting will thread in here straight? Come on. All right, well, I'm gonna wrestle with this thing and then get the knuckle, jam back up there, and we'll start the reassembly process. You're gonna wanna slide her on in from the bottom, and these things are new, so it's gonna be way more challenging to get everything lined up right. Oh, this lower one is super stout. Can't even bend it with my hand there. Hoping I can just kind of barely get it going. Yeah. The upper's gonna have to kind of bend over a little bit. All right. They're in a little bit. Not enough where I can start any nuts or anything. Great. See, I'm just tapping them, kind of lining these ball joints up just a hair bit better so they're straighter. There we go. And you can actually get your nuts started on these guys. I did notice on these new ball joints, the nut really only wanted to thread on one way, like one side of the nut only wanted to spin on. So you guys are running into that. I guess it's normal. I don't know. Are they the same size? I doubt it. Well, the bottom is. That's good. A little long-winded here, especially since you're kind of pulling the ball joint up into the bore some too. You can see how much this guy's lifted up since we started here. And again, about as tight as you can get it if you're using one of these big long wrenches. That's going to be good enough. I'm not looking for any torque specs or anything. But you definitely don't want it to bind, but it needs to be tight. All right, so what? I don't think the top one is the same. It's not even anywhere in the ballpark the same size. It's the same size now as the bottom. So that's good. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead, finish tightening these guys down, and we'll start re-stepping. By next step, putting the axle back in. We'll grab our axle, stab that guy back in. Kind of want to keep her in the same orientation she was when she came out. Definitely want to make sure we're engaged. You want to make sure your U-joint back there is all the way up against your axle housing, and this one is, so that's good. This guy fit one way. There we go. There. All right. Actually, all right, I want to go ahead and line up our never been pried on brake backer there. She looks like new. Definitely a restored showpiece there. We'll go ahead and get all our 1/2-inch bolts started here. Hit this with the impact and be done. Let me get these guys tied up. We'll move on to the next step. Hopefully just sliding the bearing on, that would be nice. We ain't gotta like sand down the spindle here to get it to seat. But we're definitely gonna need to pack that new bearing too. Outer bearing looks fine. I think I'll probably just leave that one in. All right, get these guys tightened up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Sorry about that earlier. These aren't 1/2-inch, they're 9/16. So if you're using this as a guide for sizing, 9/16. go ahead on and get you some grease. Start working it into your bearing there. And you're kind of good when you can see the grease shooting through on the rollers there. But you want to grab it. It's not as easy with a gloved hand, and you can't really hear me with a train driving by, but I need to grab some more grease. Keep packing this bearing. And we'll get it done. It's just kind of a slow, you'll get there process. Eventually, some of the grease will start disappearing from your hand. That's a good sign. All right, let me finish packing this bearing. We'll go ahead and load the wheel back up and start some little more reassembly. All right, so we're gonna clean some of our grease off. Get this guy slid back on there. Do we have any of the old shake? Nope, she's super tight. That's what we want to see. All right, so we slid our outer bearing in. Gonna put in our lock ring. This one kind of sets the bearing preload. And this one, you want to run it in tight. Get it wrench tight to where you're feeling some tension on this thing. What you're going to do is kind of seat that wheel bearing. You don't want to go crazy. Can we still turn? Yes, we're good. So what we're doing is kind of mashing that wheel bearing onto the spindle. It's supposed to slide on there a little bit easier than this, but I think this is what we got to do. Make sure everything spins freely. No slop. Give this thing some taps, kind of around it. See if that loosened it up at all. Check your tightness. Yeah, she's still good. Spins free. Our axle still has play. You don't want this thing locked up. It's not in the position yet it needs to be in to where the actual locker engages in it. Trying to find where this lock washer goes on, or this thrust washer. Let's move a little grease out of the way. There she be. we have another lock. Actually, I can tell we're gonna have to move this thing further in. It hasn't begun to press that inner wheel bearing on, or at least it might have started. It's not on all the way. Grab the thrust washer. We're gonna have to keep torquing on it. We're gonna have to, I guess, essentially just make our own press here. Yeah, I had a feeling the new wheel bearing wasn't going to be any easier to go on than the old wheel bearing was to come off. So this is what we're working with, folks. Oh yeah, she already loosened up some. So I'll kind of tell you, we're moving in the right direction. We're pressing it on. And you absolutely need this tool if you're doing this. Sliding on, can feel it engaging. It's a good sign. Man, there's so many tools and crap all over the floor. This is awesome. I'm still not even done with this car. This is just part one of broken things from a 300-mile trip. Yeah, she still spins super free. I don't think we're almost in the neighborhood of where that second lock would engage. So I'm gonna keep pouring it to her till we got more positive engagement, like a bottom out. Then we can back it off. There we go. I think we're tightening up. Yeah, that was a tight spot. You guys see that? So she still spins super free. Don't have any grinding, any play. She's bueno. Man, we moved that thing in a lot. That was a crazy amount that we just pressed that thing in there. And this is kind of your double nut here, essentially. Think of it that way. Keep it from backing off. If you have a wheel bearing failure though, like there ain't a whole lot gonna save you. This one you don't have to smoke down either, just get her tight and stop. And eventually you'll find where you're supposed to grab. Always keep testing, making sure that you're spinning. You never want to lock it so tight you have no rotation. That's bad. And this guy, you just need to spline it in there and go. There we go. Make sure everything moves. But before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and pack some grease in here to replace some of the stuff that was removed. We had essentially all the inside of the rotor packed, so when we slid on the spindle, we were good. But if you're using grease, use red grease. Don't use the other grease. It's not rated for this temperature, and it will totally shoot out. I promise you. I 100% know this. All right. Love messing with grease. Super fun to get this all over you. Now we just got to spindle back. Get her line back up, slid in. Some spots it slides a little easier than others, so if you hit a hard spot, just kind of slip it around a little till you find something that's smooth and go ahead and engage it. And all you have here is your lock ring. We'll go ahead and tap in. I'm probably going to grab another set of gloves. Well, maybe not. It's still dirty. Trying to get these screws out. Please. Last thread. This other one, man, it's so greasy, I don't think I can spin it. It's spinning some. One out. Two out. All right. I'm going to clean off our little retaining clip here. Just make sure there's no debris going back in. And this thing just snaps right in. It's got a little groove it just rides on. Again, it's a good idea to spin, check. Make sure you haven't bound anything up by putting the little locking hub thing in. So we're still good. Got to run our locking hub back on. And what you're going to want to do is get a couple of the screws. Oop. Don't lose anything. Like I just said before. Oh, that's a retaining clip that was not clipped. That's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and install that. This wheel occasionally would make some funky noises, like I thought it was locking. Wonder if this is it. Is this the culprit? Just get her started here. Push it around. This thing should engage pretty soon. Maybe there's a reason. The axle need to be pushed out a little bit. So I kind of don't see a lip. Maybe there. It's not much if there is one. All right, I think that's engaged. So back to putting the locking hub on there. So I was saying you want to run a couple screws through, get those guys started, and they kind of line you up for everything, you know, all the other 4 holes. And you don't want to smoke these guys down. Just get them started. And then you can kind of wiggle around, get everything going, get this stuff tightened up. So I'm going to work on that, and then we'll get the wheel back on and tackle the next project on this thing. Oh yeah, don't forget to put on your brakes. That's an important thing. I'm just greasing up the sliding pins here a little bit. You can use Never Sees, grease, whatever. You just want to get it on the pin. And I'll go ahead and brake clean everything really good before we finish up. Hopefully I still got a light. Come on. Everything's metal on this car. Stick. There we go. Close enough. Oh, let's grab a little brake clean. Definitely don't want to leave grease on your brakes, and don't let it touch your pads. Maybe grab a new paper towel. Yeah, it's amazing how well that stuff cuts grease. There we go. Calipers. Hopefully these guys go right back on as easy as they came off. That would be nice. We'll see about that. Oh. The inner pad was jammed a little. Good Lord. I think the piston must have expanded some. It ain't doing me no favors right now. Good Lord. All right, well, I'm gonna wrestle this thing back on. You guys know how brakes go on. Probably have to beat these on. Y'all don't need to see that, but get the brakes on, get the wheel on, and we can tackle one last piece of this car's trying to kill me. Only took minimal hitting. Installed like a glove. Just remember tightening these guys down. Don't smoke them. Snug, maybe a little bit more than snug, and you're good. A bad or a broken slider right here is going to be a bad day. There we go. You got to keep in mind too, the next guy behind you might be working with Allen wrenches, and you're really gonna leave him hanging out to dry. You smoke this guy home with a socket. Oh, just getting a little ahead of myself. We do. Oh, need to install the tie rods here. I do have a new cotter key. Make sure you use that. All right, maybe. I like to feel these by hand, make sure we're tight. That's a good spot. Go ahead and put our cotter pin in. This is an extra long one. I don't know. I have to do it from this side and kind of work it, I guess. I'm going overkill. If anything's worth killing, it's worth overkilling. That's what I say. This cotter pin's pretty much long enough to wrap back around and touch itself. That's how you always want it, I'm pretty sure. This is comically long cotter pin. And I'm trying to bend this guy. This is really funny. Somebody's gonna know I was at the bottom of the toolbox when they look at this next time anybody's down here. Guess what? That nut, it ain't going nowhere. Bam. All right, get this big girl back on. Back on and torque down, and we'll be moving on to the next nightmare. Don't forget to torque your wheels, folks. My rule of thumb on these is 100 foot-pounds. You just go in a star pattern, have your tire just barely on the ground. I like just not a whole lot of weight on it. See how loose these were from the impact. And that's a big 1/2-inch impact. Never want to rely just on that. All right, wheel cap, and we're done. All right, so it's a new day out here in the Full Blast garage. You got the ball joints, you know, locked down, tightened up, spun it around out there. It's driving great, not any kind of weird wandering or anything that it was doing before. Next issue, trans is like leaking everywhere. I can't tell what's going on. I'm gonna get under there with my brake clean everything, just wipe it all down, and try and see if I can find the source. If not, I'm gonna at least change on the pan gasket while I'm down there. That's most likely the culprit, but it could be fill tube, lines, or the input seal or the output seal. And that's about it. That's kind of everything where fluid goes. I mean, it could be some of those like modulator valves, stuff like that, but it wouldn't leak as bad as this. Like it's putting a big pool on the floor. That's what makes me think pan gasket, but I could be wrong on that. I don't see anything on the lines. So the lines with pressure, they would spray out a bunch of stuff too, but they're dry. They're at least drier than everything else. So I'm gonna go ahead, climb under there, spray down some brake clean, clean her up, and then I'll get the camera under there and we start pulling the pan gasket. Man, you can tell we scored on this rig. Drain plug. Somebody must have loved this thing. Man, it's got all the gray RTV all the way around. So I don't know if they use that as a pan gasket, if there is one. I'd kind of hope, man, maybe they didn't use a pan gasket and that's kind of causing all our issues here. That would be really, really good. Anybody else got used transmission fluid jugs all over the place? Because, oh, when I buy these junk cars, that's what I run in them first. And that trans fluid's pricey these days. Especially if you're putting it in a car, you don't know if it works or not. Use the junk stuff. And this stuff looks pretty good. Honestly, I think we got a real healthy transmission. There ain't a whole lot of oil in the pan. We're getting close to the 2 quarts and she's slowing down already. I'm gonna go ahead and let this stuff drain, grab my socket. We'll start loosening up the pan gasket, or the pan to get to the gasket. All right, got our 1/2 inch. Oh man, I'm going to have to maybe get more extension. Don't know. That one wasn't super tight. Well, that could be a good sign. Normally it don't take a whole lot to stop this ratchet.
I think I might just go ahead and put the plug back in her. She's drained enough, so I'm not getting trans fluid all over my tools. Yeah, we might need a swivel. Nope, got it. The drive shaft looks pretty good in this thing, like somebody replaced it at some point. It's always fun doing these on 4x4s. And I bet this thing is just glued. I see the RTV shooting out like almost every bolt hole. Could be in for a wrestling match. Well, one of them's tight. Just the one. Oh, and that one went straight into the trans fluid. And I knocked over the camera. All right. Think you're just going to have to take my word for it here. I will get the rest of the bolts out of the pan here. And only half of them will probably end up in the drain. Another tight one. Had a few in the rear that were still tight. Some of these others, I'd call that, I don't know, hand tight at best. Maybe we do have a transmission line pinhole here, because I see some fluid up here. That would be, I mean, not ideal, but better than pulling a trans for a seal. There's just so much fluid everywhere. You can't really tell where anything's coming from. Well, I'll try and shine the light on some of that stuff. See if I can get a little bit of an idea if there's anything really troublesome. Well, it wasn't as stuck as I thought it would be. That's a good or a bad thing. Man, that the pan, even with all the glue, wouldn't stay on. Oh. Any of y'all ever know how much I hate doing transmission pans? Oh, so nasty. All right, I'm gonna leave the pan here off to the side. Let's catch some of these drips. And I'll start fishing around, see if I see any leaks. All right. Got the filter installed. There is a indicator on the filter that shows you where the front is. So you might want to take note of that when you're installing yours. And I use the gasket that comes in the kit with these. I know a lot of guys don't run them. I don't know. Kind of got the feeling if it comes in there, just go ahead and do it. I don't have any prejudices for or against. When I pulled the old filter, there was none there. So whoever did the last filter job didn't feel the need to run it. Transmission's been fine. other than leaking profusely. So kind of take that however you want to and run with it. Hoping to feed all the bolts through the pan and the gasket kind of act as a little bit of a retainer, hold it in place. The problem areas, these transmission gaskets are always at the edges, like the curves. That's where these gaskets get pinched and end up not sealing. And I'm hoping when I get this done, I'm going to go pressure wash everything and take a look at it tomorrow. And if there is any more leaks, maybe they'll be a little bit easier to spot. Because as of right now, everything's covered. There's not anything almost back to the rear axle that doesn't have some sort of fluid or grime on it. So Chevrolet made them special back then. They're good trucks, but yeah, they're a little leaky occasionally, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a while since I've had a small or big block Chevy that had some miles on it that didn't have a leaky rear main. I mean, it just comes with the territory. All right, what you want to do is just line your pan up, get you some bolts started by hand. I kind of could feel just by sliding it around when they locked in to a location. And you definitely don't want to smoke any of these down with a wrench before you get them hand started. So I'm going to just keep go around, get these guys in. Everything seems to be pretty happy. Oop, that side hasn't started yet. All right, I can feel that bolt go down in its home. There we go. Some of these are a little easier to get to than others, especially with the exhaust and the front drive shaft just right here in your teeth. And then you kind of start fighting the transmission cross member here in the rear. All right, started. The pan should be able to hold itself up now. Get all these rear guys started. This one's kind of feeling unhappy over here. I think that just fell in. All right. There we go. All right. Everything started by hand. Go ahead, use my ratchet and just snug them up in a crisscross pattern. And this guy does not have a lot of torque, so I'm not worried about smoking anything down too hard. I'll go get my torque wrench when I'm done here. Put about 10 foot-pounds on it. And you might want to look up the torque spec for your trans. That's just kind of a quick and fast one that I use on everything. It's kind of these aluminum pan jobs. 10 foot-pounds, pretty safe. And let me know, am I making a mistake? I'm doing no goo. This is just straight gasket. We're raw dogging it. Is it gonna seal? The last RTV just came right off. Like in a solid hump. So it wasn't doing very much. It wasn't really adhered to the surface. I'm gonna go around, check. Everything's good. Everything's snugged up. I'm gonna go ahead and hit everything one more time with this guy, just so it's snugged down. Then I'll go grab the torque wrench. All right, torquing. Same setup as before. X pattern, 10 foot-pounds. I got 3/8 torque wrench, and it's an inch-pound, so 120 inch-pounds. All right, y'all don't need to watch me do this, but get up top and start filling this trans full of fluid. Hopefully it doesn't just dump right out on the floor. Right, let's go ahead and start giving her the good gulf. I'm gonna give her about 4 quarts to chew on, maybe 5. Then we'll run it, get it hot, check the level. Use your dirtiest funnel that you just found in the fender. That's a good idea. Now you should probably wipe it out at least a little. Oh, she's clean as a whistle. Always use your best O'Reilly's brand. That'll make sure she's shifting perfect. And just in case this snake oil stuff does anything, let's just try it. If it stops leaking, the snake oil stuff can claim victory and not the pan gasket. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know if I've ever put any of this bars leak stuff in a transmission before. But honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a transmission fluid puddle as big as the one I saw under this truck. And I'm really, really trying to avoid pulling the transmission to do front seal, rear seal. Well, rear one you can do it with the trans installed. Front one, front pump seal, nope. She's coming out. Or at least you'd have to slide the transmission back, unbolt the bell housing, pull her back, do it like that. Probably be easier to pull the transmission out though. I've done torque converters by just sliding the trans back, pulling the torque converter out, slide the new one in, and go. So while we still got a little bit left, we're gonna pour the snake oil in. Let's see, never actually seen this stuff. It just looks like motor oil. Not even really thick motor oil. Most of the stuff that's stop leak related, they way overdo the viscosity to make you think you're doing something. All you're really doing is just adding something with more viscosity. It might stop it, but probably won't. I got 1 quart left in this jug. We'll go ahead and mix her over. Might have been a little more than 1 quart. That was my backup trans fluid there, just in case. I always kind of travel with some when I'm riding around these real old cars.
on Poverty Tour, man, I had a small O'Reilly's in the trunk of a Trans Am. You could have just about done all the maintenance on Trans Am from the trunk of my car. All right, I'm gonna peek under just to make sure I'm not dumping fluid straight onto the ground and there is a drip. Well, let me take a look under there. All right, bit of a new one. Transmission fill tube where the bracket is welded on that holds it to the bell housing. I think that weld is broke loose a little bit and you got a little drip going down the fill tube, but that's it. That's the leak from what I can tell. So it just dripped out, wasn't too bad. We're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get this thing running, check the level on it, get it right, call it a day. Well, I'm gonna wash it, then call it a day. But let's go ahead and crank her up, get her up to temp, check on the stick. All right, let's let her run for a minute. A little cold. Gets heat in her. Truck is pretty warm. I mean, we're a tiny bit past hot on the dipstick, and I'm okay with that. We're fine. Mainly don't want to be under full. That's where you hurt your transmission. You don't be way over full, but poured over is kind of normal for what guys run on a lot of transmissions. So I'm gonna call that good. Now just let me sell it. Please let me sell it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of unexpected maintenance video on the old Squarebody Chevy. The old chop Jimmy that's for sale, that the moment I tried to drive it somewhere to trade it, tried to kill me. So if any of y'all can relate, you know, to a car that you put up for sale and just everything goes wrong with it, kind of living that right now. But I think we fixed some big problems, or at least, you know, that pan gasket, I don't think all that fluid was probably coming from the pan gasket. There might be some other issue, but I'm gonna spray it real good and get it clean. And if the pan gasket was leaking, this is my theory, I was occasionally putting half quart a quart, this thing just sit here and I'd move it around some. If dipstick tube, you know, the fill tube has a hole in it and I don't know, a tenth, an eighth of whatever I was filling in was just pouring out, makes it look like it's got a way worse leak than it really does. And what is happening is where that dipstick tube leaks right by that bell housing, that's where your torque converter and everything's spinning in your flywheel. So it's just leaking, hitting that spinning object, and just shooting fluid everywhere. And that can kind of throw you off when you're trying to find something. So you got to keep an eye on that, try and trace something back to its origin. But if you're just kind of got stuff everywhere, maybe just clean it all, try and start over. That's probably your best bet. I think we got the ball joints sorted out, got at least, you know, a kind of an inkling of what's going on with the transmission leak. And hopefully that didn't scare anybody off, or I have to reach way up in there and smack a bunch of JB Weld on that fill tube. But man, I hope y'all enjoyed another video. This one should for sure be the last one, unless I drive it again, something else breaks. But I don't plan on putting 300 miles on this thing ever again. I mean, it wasn't bad and it was kind of cool, but fighting that right wheel from falling off, it's a little anxiety filled, I'm not gonna lie. But hope y'all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please interact with us. We're a small channel. We appreciate everything. And until you see me again, just go out, do something that makes you happy, and make sure you're doing it on full blast. I'll see y'all later.